All right, this is Sports for Real. Had to come on for a few minutes to tell you about how I feel about a few topics going on. As you know, a lot of people have been dying lately that are of high importance to a lot of people. And when it comes to sports, right now, we have one of the most prominent figures, if not the most prominent figures in Major League Baseball, just passed. I'm talking about the great Pete Rose. Pete Rose, as you know, is called Charlie Hustle. Now, he's been going on media tours and giving interviews with people, and I just happened to catch him on the Skinny Joey podcast with Lil Snuff. Actually, a pretty good interview, and you got a lot of insight into Pete Rose and where he came from. He also gave you a lot of interesting nuggets about Major League Baseball and its history. But I've always contended that especially after listening to what he had to say concerning the baseball and the records he set and the way he approached the game, and when you relate it to what you see now with players, there's no doubt in my mind that Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. Yes, I know he was accused of gambling on his own team, and I also understand that he signed the agreement that he would be banned. But I'm here to tell you right now, if Pete Rose never gets to the Hall of Fame, they should disband the whole Hall of Fame because this man was the pure embodiment of what baseball or what a baseball player is and should be. So if there is no Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, I think they should disband the Hall of Fame. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Baseball Hall of Fame. It is completely different from the NFL Hall of Fame, where you go through a process and it's kind of like a democratic process where people contribute and they make honest assessment about a player's abilities and they determine whether or not that person should be in the Hall of Fame. Is it a perfect process? Of course not. But baseball, on the other hand, that is the writers' Hall of Fame. The writers determine who get into the Hall of Fame. Now, a lot of these guys, they probably never even played baseball or any other sport. But since it's the Baseball Writers Hall of Fame, they get to pick and choose who goes into the Hall of Fame. So it is the reason why you've seen a lot of players over the years who didn't get in for a long period of time, and all of a sudden they got the votes to get in. It's because some writer from a long time ago got slighted or insulted by a player and they're holding a grudge against them, or the player did something they didn't like, and they just decided to keep the guy out of the Hall of Fame, even though he was clearly qualified to be there. Rose, he never came up for a vote on the Hall of Fame because of his um, gambling things hanging over his head. He never shied away from the fact that he was a gambler, but I just can't see how a guy with this approach to the game would sabotage his own team just to make a few bucks. But like I said, he did say that he signed the agreement and he's at fault for getting to that point. But again, if there is no Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame baseball should not exist. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. But again, Pete Rose, great baseball player. If you've never seen him play, I had a chance to see him play, not live, but as a kid, I watched Pete Rose play ball, and the man's a great player. Um, and I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. So hopefully he rests in peace. But what I don't want to see is these people who villainize him the whole time and all of a sudden start crying and complaining that he's not in the Hall of Fame when a lot of them are the reasons why he's not in the Hall of Fame. So you know how people get kind of hypocritical when people die, and I hope that just not the case this time when it comes to Pete Rose. So that's just the situation that I always had a problem with, and I hope it gets rectified at some point. But at this point, I just don't see it ever happening. All right, the next thing I want to talk about here in Jacksonville, the Jaguars ran through the preseason, and they won all of their games. It got to the point where that the city, they just getting all excited because the Jaguars going to be playing pretty good football. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, a lot of people put faith that he would turn the franchise around, and even the administration for the Jaguars awarded him with a second contract, which was an extension up to like $225 million. So basically, Lawrence is set for life. All they got to do now is just go out and play. Well, a lot of fans didn't believe that he should have got the contract that he got. And the way he's been playing, it has kind of proved the point that they've been making all along. So if you look at this picture here, this is a game from Monday night, last Monday, when the Bills beat him up pretty good. He had some receivers open. He missed. He threw a pass that got picked off. Damar Hamlin got his first career interception off him. And it's just a night that the Jaguars would rather forget. So they fell to 0-3 that night. And then the other day they lost in Houston when they had the game pretty much controlled. But it never should have came down to whether or not the Texans could put the drive together to knock them off. Lawrence, again, who has been the subject of some of the fans' ire. Like I told you guys before, I have this thing where I'm working as kind of like a post-game reporter for this medium called Fango. So what I do after the Jaguars home game, I post outside and I talk to fans as they leave the stadium. They've only had one home game so far, and during that game, Trevor Lawrence came up. A lot of the fans, some of the fans especially, don't think that he deserves his contract because of the way he's playing. Now, this was week 2. It's been 2 other games since then, and his play has continued to decline. So that is not a good thing for the fans because they don't think that, some of them don't think that he deserves the money. So again, I'm on Fango Media. And as you look here, if you just go to Fango Media, you'll see fan reactions from all the different home venues so far throughout the NFL season. I'll be out there Sunday after the Jaguars take on the Colts, and I should get some interesting comments there surrounding how they feel about Trevor Lawrence and the way he's playing now. But like I said, those people were saying that he didn't deserve his contract, and the way he's looked the last 2 weeks, there's a lot to back up what these fans are saying. He's just not worthy of his contract, but they're stuck with him now because they're not going to pay him all that kind of money and all of a sudden get rid of him. Now, a person like Tua, who got these concussion problems, he got paid too. So it would make sense if, the Dolphins forced him to retire or dropped him or whatever because they just don't think he's going to be healthy. That is a completely different situation, I think, what Trevor Lawrence is in. But if you think Trevor Lawrence is under the gun from the fans, head coach Doug Pederson, he's really under the gun. Pederson, he like to take a lot of chances. I like Pederson. Pederson, as you know, he was the coach of the Eagles. I think it was Super Bowl 52 when they knocked off New England. And he's a Super Bowl winning coach. But a year or two after that, he got fired in Philadelphia, even though he won the Super Bowl. And then he resurfaced down here in Jacksonville. And the guy is a personable guy. He's worthy of being a head coach, and he has a team playing good football. But something just not right with Jacksonville. And after the loss against the Texans, he pretty much said that, they call the right plays, they just weren't making them. A lot of people took offense to that. But I don't think he's necessarily wrong for what he had to say. Because like I say, Trevor Lawrence has been missing a lot of wide open receivers. And if he had hit 2 of them, they would have beat the Texans by at least 10 points. So having said that, people are talking about he has lost the locker room. He has said he has not lost the locker room, but inside information reveals otherwise. So we won't really know the truth because we're not there. But all I know is after getting blown out against Buffalo, they showed up to play against the Texans, and I suspect to see the same thing when they play the Colts on Sunday. But if they don't, expect Doug Pederson to be ousted because right now his seat is scorching hot. He knows it. The whole world knows it. The Colts know it. And they were like nothing better to do than to beat the Jaguars up and get that coach fired. Will it happen? We'll see. But like I say, I think the Jaguars are going to end up knocking off the Colts. They have to. They have no other choice. And Doug Peterson, I think you have him ready to play. But I still think it comes down to that quarterback. If the quarterback can hit those wide open receivers, then it's not going to matter what kind of plays Doug call or who the head coach is. Lawrence has to play. But like I said, you're stuck with him because you got the big contract. So that's just the way it goes. So, just a quick live tonight. Just want to come on, say a few things about some current events here. Like I say, Doug Peters is under the gun. So is Trevor Lawrence, and then we had the death of Pete Rose. So, like I say, Pete Rose, in my opinion, if he's not in the Hall of Fame, I think that there shouldn't be a baseball Hall of Fame, and it's like that. So until next time, this has been Sports for Real. I'll holler at you later.